Hey Jay, I'm sorry, there is just no decent light today. And also sorry I'm late. I had a thing going last week that kind of took up all my time and attention. But we are here for the Rebels. There we go. Chapter 25. And someday I'll even show you the normal cover. So, I have no idea if there's any trigger warnings in here. I can't remember my own book. So, let's get into it. The Rebels, Chapter 25. We set the next ambush near Canby, a large town half an hour northwest of Molalla. It had been going downhill for years, and at the time of the invasion looked like a concrete jungle. The north side didn't look too bad, but everything else was just a trashy slum. We hit Steve a few blocks inside the southern limits. This ambush went much the same as the last time, with one notable difference. Most of our fighters kept their heads and listened to orders better. It helped that this lot of Steve was less experienced and didn't think to lob grenades at us, too. The third ambush happened 5 weeks after the first, halfway to Eugene, and Lightning and Thunder participated. We also sustained our first serious injury, with Kestrel taking a hit low on her side. Despite this, we had the truck dismantled and hidden within 4 hours while Eleanor tended to Kestrel. We hovered constantly, anxious to hear how she fared. Another funeral after all the deaths we'd witnessed was more than we could bear to think about, and as a result, Eleanor set Dereva to chase us off and give her some space. When Eleanor proclaimed Kestrel stable enough to be moved, there was a collective sigh of relief. She had a chance now. During Kestrel's convalescence, we gathered to discuss a bigger job: Salem. Suggestions and arguments flowed throughout the room, all of us looking for ideas on what to do and how to improve on what thoughts we had. "We should come in from the north gate again," Phoenix said. "They won't expect us to go the same way twice." "Except they would have had to repair the damage from last time," Seahorse reminded her. "It wouldn't surprise me if they beefed up their security." We couldn't approach directly from the east. The lack of cover automatically protected Steve. Me and Sirius thought we should come in from the south. "I want us to stash the trucks a few miles away and come in slow," I said. "Take our time and leave no tracks." "Won't we be rescuing anybody?" Phoenix heated up. "Yeah," I said, keeping my voice mild, "but I want to be quieter about this one. Make it seem like some folks just vanished into thin air. Move only at night. Like we should have done the first time." "So, who we gonna get?" High Tide asked the big question. I could see everyone in the room thinking it should be their family first, though most of us had no real clue where our families were. "That guy," Phoenix said suddenly. "The one we met first. We could help him." "We should get the other girls in brothels first," Storm interjected. "We made a promise." Phoenix stared at the other girl coldly. Storm bristled, fingers curling into claws. "Settle down, you idiots," I snapped, pushing them roughly apart. "We don't do anybody any good if we get huffy. You gotta think of this as a long haul, not a sprint. Anybody we get out is a bonus, and right now we need to aim for what we can get. So, you either get your shit together or you can piss off, right?" "Sorry," Storm muttered. "Sorry." Phoenix looked abashed. "However, your idiocies did give me a bit of an idea for us to start with." I walked over to the detailed Salem map and snatched up some pins. "So this is what I'm thinking." I woke to Jewel wildly patting my arm and glanced quickly around, but all seemed as it should be. Sirius slept at my back, River and Phoenix sandwiched next to her. I looked back at the younger woman who'd been on watch, and her eyes showed wide and panicked above her scarf as she frantically waved for me to follow her. We'd hid in a sparse grove outside of Salem, waiting for dark to make our entrance into the city. Further north, Eleanor, Seahorse, Storm, Fox, and the sisters Thunder and Lightning had hopefully found a safe place to wait for us. While there'd been some confusion as to why everybody wasn't entering Salem, a bit of logic and a chessboard had helped clear that up. Jewel stopped just behind a tree, pointing out out at a farmhouse illuminated by the winter sun. I sucked in a breath, hugging the ground tightly. A patrol searched through the grounds not 20 feet from us, ransacking the house and barns. "Wake up the others," I breathed to Jewel. She nodded, white-faced, and backed slowly into the grove. Nervous sweat beaded with the drizzle as I watched them move out. We couldn't afford to be seen. Not today. One motioned in our direction and received a nod. I edged slowly under a bush and prayed the others were awake and ready. The soldier idly poked through the trees, looking at the surface. One foot came down so close I could have reached out and touched him as he stopped and perused the area. My heart beat against the hard earth, thundering away as I held my breath. At last, satisfied, he rejoined the group who had finished their inspection, taking anything useful with them. I'd barely gathered my shaking self together and crawled out from under the bush when Sirius showed up next to me. "This," she said with a casualness at odds with the trembling of her hands, "is a nice grove. Can we stay here longer?" "I think so." I brushed the leaves and loam away from my front, eyeing the others. "Where were you guys at?" "In a tree, under some bushes." Steve looked, but he didn't see. Eleanor would feel that her prayer had helped. She'd asked if she could pray for us, and none of us could deny her, though we'd been largely uncomfortable the whole time. We stood looking at the lights of the towers. Not all of them were lit yet, but enough to show the perimeter they'd built. "It's sad," I said, staring at those distant lights. "They've barely cleared any ground around the perimeter. Maybe 30 yards? The Nazis had cleared 100. "Those soldiers didn't have their families being held hostage to their good behavior," Eleanor said gently. "They had the Geneva Convention in those days." "Maybe. I'm just worried that if they've lost that—" I clenched a fist over my belly. "Fire, then how much good can we do?" "Considering the fact that you've already started something," Eleanor said, amused, "it's a bit late to be worrying about it, don't you think?" "Yeah, sure. Throw logic at me." This earned me a smile, and I shook my head at the distant lights. "Yeah, the rest of them can either join us or get out of the way." Outside Salem's fence once more, I could see the cleared ground was wider than I'd thought, maybe 35 yards, the earth still rough where they'd pulled plants up by the roots. River led the way, since she'd been through more than the rest of us. Twice, since I'd introduced her to Kitten, and had a few entrances prepared along the line. When she motioned, we ran, and the hardest part of entering the fence was getting the zip ties fastened in the dark. Finished, Jewel punched the air. "That was—" Sirius, closest to her, shut her up by the simple expedient of wrapping an arm around her head, muffling her. "We're not out of the woods yet," Sirius murmured in the girl's ear. "We don't get to make any noises until we're back at the lair. Got it?" Jewel nodded, eyes so wide the whites showed. River took the lead, moving silently through bushes and eventually into suburban streets, keeping the pace fast. We jogged past a sign I recognized. We were less than 5 miles from where we'd rescued the girls, was it 3, 4 months ago? Whatever. Time. Twice we hid and watched patrols of Dorothy's and Steve's go past at leisurely speeds. We passed Kitten's neighborhood shortly before the sky began to lighten, and River peeled off for her next assignment. We'd see her later tonight if all went well. I shifted, trying unsuccessfully to dislodge the rock when I finally realized it was a tree root. The original owner of the backyard we hid in had been overly fond of trees and bushes, and the evidence of their shallow roots pressed into my front in several places. I buried my head in my arms, trying to catch a moment's sleep with my shoulders hunched to my ears. Not enough to protect me from the fat drop of water that hit me square in the back of the neck. "Fucking drizzly, damn frickin'," I muttered into the soil. I closed my eyes, picturing the map, going over the plan again, seeing the little colored flags as they changed position. Entirely too much of this stupid plan was based on wishful thinking and best-case scenarios. I'm a moron, I sighed. At least the plan involved blowing shit up. Shortly after sundown, we finally found the right address. Sirius nudged me, encouraging me to knock while she and Jewel went to collect Eleanor, Seahorse, and the others, while Phoenix watched the road. I huffed a deep breath, nerving myself up to knock on the door. After everything, I still hated having to approach people. You'd think I'd have gotten over that part of my shyness by now. One more deep breath, and I gripped my rifle, ready to have it up at a moment's notice, and rapped lightly on the back door. Silence. I knocked again. Eventually, I heard footsteps shuffling closer. The door cracked open slightly. "Who's there?" The voice was gruff with fear, and I hoped it belonged to the right man. I tugged down my scarf. "Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man?" "Took your sweet time, didn't you?" He stepped outside slowly, looking like he'd aged 20 years since we last saw him. "Is your wife?" His eyebrows rose with surprise, but grief sat in his eyes. "She's doing better, but our son..." His breath caught, and I saw the source of the recent grief. "I'm sorry," I said baldly, swallowing hard. "If we'd gotten here sooner?" The man shrugged. "We'll never know. Why are you here?" "Figured you might like a lift out of here, and the rest of the people in this house." His expression didn't change. Then he turned and disappeared back into the house. "Check with my wife," drifted back over his shoulder. "Sure," I muttered, waving my hands. "Check with the wife. It's not like we're doing anything dangerous here. Go ahead. Why don't we ask Steve, too?" I cut off when I heard crackling in the bushes behind me and spun, dropping to one knee as I threw my rifle up. In time to see Eleanor exit the forest, closely followed by Seahorse. "Are you talking to yourself?" Eleanor asked me. "Yes! I needed to speak to someone with a bit of sense." "Where's the man? Aren't they coming?" "Dunno." I glared at the door. "He's asking his wife." Eleanor blinked. "Oh." The rest of the fighters entered the backyard, and I breathed a sigh of relief when I counted. All present and accounted for. "You'll be fine finding your way back to the trucks?" I asked Storm. "I know where to go." The young scout's assurance came from someone who'd spent a good deal of time wandering and figuring out how to get home without help. Wow. I nodded, turning back as the shuffling footsteps approached again, and the man stepped out, a thin, pale woman behind him. "We'll go," he said gruffly. "What should we take?" "Only what you can carry." I gestured to the fighters who brushed past them into the house. "You vouch for the others?" He nodded. "They're good. Getting ready now." Fighters filed out silently, packs loaded with what useful things they could find, leading children by the hand. The kids were quiet, worried but not scared. "It's because we're women," Eleanor murmured to me. "If it were men here, at this time of night, they'd be terrified." I'll take what I can get." Ceres came back around, and I saw the dark band on her arm. It was nearly time. I pulled out a scrap of cloth blacker than the clothes I wore and tied it around my arm. The parents balked at walking out into the night. It had become dangerous, a time when it was best to be locked inside. Hopefully, the kids wouldn't get their parents' fear. Maybe they would see it as I did, a place of safety and fun, when mischief ran wild, and mischief was me. "They helped us," I heard Eleanor speaking quietly to the adults. "We were in a brothel." She showed them the brand on her flank. "She helped us." "Remember," I murmured to Seahorse, "wait for the signal, then run like a bat out of hell." She grinned and we bumped fists. My team waited in the backyard as the others slowly made their way into the forest. 5 families, 17 people. As we watched them disappear, a curtain flashed next door, a pale face appearing in the window. Phoenix twisted, showing the band on her arm. The curtain slammed back into place, and the house was silent once more. A few minutes later, River arrived. "Do you know how hard it is to find shit without phones?" she said, pulling out a piece of paper. "I miss my phone." We gathered in the emptied house, the others murmuring assent, but I didn't agree. If there was technology, we'd be dead by now. No way to hide from what Steam could bring to bear. "Show us what you got," I said instead. All right, that is chapter 25. Thanks for joining me. If you enjoyed this, you can find a link. I'm sure I'll remember to put one somewhere down there in the description. And I'll see if I can get another video out this week. I hope I can, just to make up for it since I missed last week. But no promises, because I'm going to a Christmas market. My first ever. I'm a bit scared. So, see you next time.